3 months ago, I had the wild idea to build my own street legal MotoGP bike, and this is where it sits today. So many of you guys have shared this passion that I've had for this project to where you guys want your own very own MotoGP bikes, and I am happy to build them for you. In this episode, we are undoing everything we've done and starting over again. This is my 2024 KTM Superduke 1390. Yes, it looks very, very different than what you're used to seeing a Superduke look like. This bike has had a complete makeover, and I custom designed RC16 MotoGP bodywork. We've come a long way, and I absolutely love the design of the bike, but there's just a few things we need to talk about and discuss. So because I had to shrink the tank and make the bodywork so much thinner and look skinnier on the bike so it didn't look bubbled up, what I had to do is really contour the tank pieces into the inset of the bodywork. And as you can see, there's quite the gap. This isn't needing to be pushed out, but this should actually fit flush with this. So what's happening is there's so much material on the inside of the bodywork from it being 3D printed that it's actually hitting hard parts of the bike where it shouldn't be. This total should be about 3-4 mil before we make molds of it. And right now we're probably closer to 10 mil. I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off, and we actually have to pull all of this bodywork off the bike and sand all of the heavy 24K carbon fiber off of it. All right, let's get to sanding. Holy crap. That was a lot of work, a lot of messiness, and itchy balls for a few days. Before we throw all the bodywork back on the bike, now that I've got the inside of it trimmed and stuff, we want to go ahead and get the RC16 basically masked off, taped up, everything, so that way when we have the bike final assembly and we're finalizing the design on the bike, we can go ahead and we can do Bondo and lightweight body filler on the bike and get all the lines nice and crispy. So now, let's mask the bike and then we can get back at it. Crazy, man. Look at this, dude. Guys, I hope you're soaking this in the same way we are. It is so much thinner and skinnier. If you look at it from this angle, our girl's got wide hips, but it sucked in so much more. I don't know if you could really tell on the video, but the sides were they were kind of winged out. And it was because it was hitting hard parts like the radiator, some, sensor mounts and things underneath here. It's still kind of touching here, but it was hitting the parts to where this was winged out and it looked like it was so much that it didn't want to fit. I removed, no BS, in some parts, almost 2 inches of the 3D printed plastic on the inside. And this thing just sucked in and got so much tighter on the bike. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, you guys seen it already. You guys may have seen it in stories, but this was my original wire cover design. So on the Super Duke, yes, the tank is big and bulky, but honestly, we were able to shrink it down and make it look good enough and at least proportional to the whole bike. But the wire cover, the way that this sat on here, I don't know if you could really tell, but these lines, it kind of bubbled up on the tank. So you can see right here in this picture of before how it made the tank look really big and bulky, almost like an alien forehead. And now what I did was I shrunk down the wire cover to make it to where it just fits all the wiring and everything that we have underneath here, basically the bare minimums of what we need. I made this cool new design to where it literally is just the wire cover. Like the tank is as skinny as it can be, and it just, man, look at this side profile. Like that with the new extensions that we're doing. I know some of you guys might have liked the louvers and stuff that we had here, but I didn't think it fit right. I didn't think it was the way that I was going with the design in my head. We can always add them, final design. Another thing that we don't really get to see much because the bike's basically had its upper and lower winglets since day one, is this is what the bike looks like without winglets. So the RC16 Moto GP bike, it's actually like a lot more straight and kind of fatter here, but then when you take the winglets off, it looks really bulky and kind of ugly. No offense, KTM and Red Bull Racing. It's just, you had to use wings to make it look good, in my opinion. This, I wanted to redesign this upper and mid to where if you look at this bike from any angle, honestly, if you didn't know that it came with upper and lower winglets, it looks like you can run it just like this. I actually think that we're gonna have a lot of customers that want to just order our bare bones kit like this without winglets because it is just a gorgeous bike. I mean, when this thing's bodyworked completely and it's all one color and perfectly smooth, I think when we see it without winglets, it's just gonna look absolutely epic. We got a little taste of that when we put the carbon on it and it was all one solid piece, but the carbon was so thick and chunky that it took away all these design cues and aspects that I spent 1,000 hours on just to get it like that. So seeing it like this after so long, seeing it another way, man, it's just, it looks so sick and it's like skinnier, but there's a few things that we do need to dial in and actually change. One of those is in the design, this upper, the ears should actually fit out like this. They should protrude up a little bit. Right now they're kind of floppy because if you take a look on the fairing stay, you know, we made this look nice. This is your normal, you'll have a nut, you know, on two of these locators, 2 bolts going through on the top side, but you see the gap. I needed to extend the fairing stay to be the proper gap to push these ears out like that, as well as I wanted to redo some things because we're trying to like push the boundaries of what's normal manufacturing, right? We're not trying to be the next Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, but I feel like there's so much technology that we have available to us that why not be guinea pigs and experiment and cool things that could be the next pioneering of the new race parts, right? What I mean by that is with this, why do we make a fairing stay like everybody else has for decades and decades? Because we're designing everything from scratch, why not make it better? Another thing too is a lot of these parts, although they look great and they're hidden behind the bodywork, you may never see them, but we want it to look like an OEM factory part, right? So we're just getting better every time we're doing these parts. This is our new intake and fairing stay design, and I want to just show you guys, we'll get to talking about these later. So we're now printing all of our structural parts out of polycarbonate carbon fiber. And the reason for that, let me show you, is we print all of our parts out of PA12 carbon fiber. This is an amazing material. It holds up extremely well and basically mimics, you know, injected molded factory OEM parts. We have great success with printing out of this material. We print airboxes, winglets, almost all of our structural parts out of this material. The good thing about it is just like most plastics, if you see, there's flex to it. Now this doesn't flex at speeds, it doesn't like shimmy or shake, but what's great about this is there's flex where you want it. For instance, if this was in an impact, imagine this is on the side of the bike and you lay the bike down. The good thing is, chances are these don't break. Shout out to Ian Wright. He's actually tested this at about 120 miles an hour at Jerez, and the winglets held up. They cracked a little bit, but they actually didn't break, and they saved his $2,000 bodywork. I think it's just the coolest story ever that our parts help somebody out. But this is PA12 carbon fiber. You have a slight bit of deflection. That's really good. But if you're doing it with a fairing stay, of course, this is a lot more bulkier, and the structure that we have, there is no flex here. But let's say hypothetically, if we were using the PA12 carbon fiber, if you were in an impact, this may not break, but it could deflect or bend past the point of how it's supposed to be. Meaning, if you were to make this out of carbon fiber nylon and you wreck at 130 miles an hour, your fairing stay might not break, but your bodywork would fit a little weird. So we make it out of polycarbonate now because this, just this structure, is super stiff. You can see even here, this is very thin and there's hardly any deflection. Now it does have its benefits as well as its cons. Mostly all benefits in structural pieces over the PA12 carbon fiber. But the one con is that these parts, because they don't flex, they tend to break. I wouldn't say shatter because the polycarbonate carbon fiber, it bonds really well and it doesn't shatter once we anneal it. But how can we make it better? And that is where these come in. So these are aluminum feelers. These are billet aluminum rods that what I did is I designed all of our parts that are structural. Even though we could print it like this and it would be good, you wouldn't need to reinforce it. I think about how you guys would have it, how I'm gonna use it. We're gonna wreck it, we're gonna crash it, stuff's gonna happen. We need to make sure that these parts, although we can just make them again, they're easily printable, we wanna make sure that they hold up in a crash to where maybe you don't have to replace this part, even in a hard crash. So what we've done is we've actually designed in the model that it has this hole that goes through the whole body of this fairing stay. And what we do is when we anneal it, annealing is the process of heating this up at a very low temp over a long period of time post-process. Not to mention, these parts are not post-processed. I literally pulled these off of the printer. You can see it's still got brim here. I literally pulled these off of the printer, pulled the supports off of them, and these are just raw parts. This is no sanding, no finish work. We haven't even touched these, nor is it in the settings that we do our final production parts in. These will look like an actual injected molded part when we're done, I promise you. Like, look how rough this stuff is. But we like to show you guys everything. So what we do is we take these 8mm rods, you can see it's very tight fit, and we press these in here, and then we anneal this for 12 to 15 hours. So the process of annealing is basically all of those FDM 3D printed lines, not just the lines, but the way that a 3D printer works, how they need to fuse each layer together. Hypothetically, if you're just relying on the heat of the little nozzle that's putting the plastic out, chances are it's not gonna fuse the best that it can. So when we anneal this, all of the layers fuse together. Imagine a giant sandwich, and through heat, all of the layers are completely fused. No more layer lines, nothing like that. So annealing it alone makes this part at least 2 to 3 times stronger. But then us pressing in these rods afterwards, what's gonna happen is now, imagine this is pressed all the way in through this body, okay? So now, in a case of an accident, when this crashes and you hit here, this aluminum rod is gonna absorb all of the impact, right? So imagine this rod, you'd have to try to bend it or break it going straight down at its strongest part on a part that's already super strong. So sorry to nerd out on you guys. I just want you to know that we're really pushing to just do better and really reinvent the way we see all these parts being made today. So now we could jump on over the bike. We're gonna remove the bodywork we just put on, and let's install our new intakes and fairing stays.
Do you want me to put in your back?
So here's the game plan. What I wanna do is I want to mark these lines. So if you look on the tank, you see how it's kind of protruded out? That's not the line we want right here. This is the line we want. We have this hard line, this seam right here, that when we bodywork it and fill it, this will get real crispy and look super sweet. So this needs to be on that side of that line and go up into the tank. So right now, you can see that this fits perfect. This here wants to go way behind this. So I'm gonna mark this line off here. We're gonna cut that little protruded out section of the tank on the left and right side. Then I'll actually plastic weld like a little piece in there, and we'll start working with that. All right, so here's where we're at, guys. We've been spending a lot of time really getting the end of the body line nice and crisp. It's basically as close as it can be to the bike without touching. So that's why we're spending a lot of this time getting it nice and skinny and real tight up against the bike. But you can start to see all of the body lines get sucked in. I still can't get over like the fact of how skinny this bike looks. A lot of the stuff I had to section out, so you could tell in the time lapse I actually like cut this like a wedge and then pulled this down and then plastic welded it, so now it has like this nice contour behind the bodywork. There's a lot of little stuff like this. This is like what I'm trying to tell you guys, the reason why this part of the process takes so long, because we can literally Bondo this, Bondo glass, throw a bunch of filler on it, get it sealed, get it painted, ready for molds and make parts. But it's like, I just don't want to release something and then look at it and go, damn, we should have spent a little bit more time with it. So that's why we're spending that little bit more time with it now. Look, when this bolts down, watch this, guys. Like, I don't know if you can see just how tight the gaps are everywhere. And this is literally before we put any filler or Bondo glass on it. I know I'm waffling, talking a lot, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm gonna try to wrap it up. Like at the end of this video, I promise it'll make more sense. I'm just gonna go back to the time lapse, keep working on this thing, trust the process, guys, and it's just gonna keep getting better and better. I went ahead and I filled this whole gap and basically retrimmed this. Just keep in mind that everything's like 90%, because when we go with fiberglass reinforced filler and our lightweight filler, it's gonna make it thicker. So we'd rather have like almost like a dip in it instead of a peak that we'd have to sand down and then put more on top. So I've got this where it's like smoothed with the tank now, and then when it gets up to like this part of the tank, I wish you guys could feel it on camera, but it actually does like this little inset to where it goes directly straight forward. I mimicked that on both sides. We got it exactly where we want to put it. I do have a little bit left to go back and basically plastic weld and fill these gaps, but this is exactly how I want the body work. This thing is fitting so tight, there's hardly any movement, and this is with absolutely no mounting holes. We actually mounted the mid of the upper to the sides just to pull it in and zip tie it, but now we can basically, we'll do it on camera. If I did everything correctly and now this is all molded the way it should, now where I have this zip tied to pull this side as close as we could to the frame, now it should stay exactly where we want it, just like that. So now we can bust out the Bondo glass, some flap disc wheels. Now let the dirty games begin. We get to sand back on it and get this thing nice and smooth. interruption. This is the actual RC16 windscreen from the MotoGP bike, at least the one that I have in my 3D model. And this looks excellent, except for us bigger guys, and literally anybody over the size of, I don't know, 5 foot, 90 pounds soaking wet, this is gonna cover your chin. So it needs to have like a GP bubble, like a tall windscreen. And unfortunately, because the RC16, it's almost like flattened out. It doesn't have like a big contour. So if it has a giant bubble, it basically looks like a big ass forehead. So this didn't work. So we went to the drawing board and I designed this. This looks way better. It's almost like a double bubble and a GP windscreen. You can see it's got a nice duckbill. But the issue is now that we're bodyworking the bike and the front end's kind of shrunk down and it's moved and the ears are in different places, the way that this angle is no longer the way it is on the bike. So I needed to make one that was wider, but still looked good. So I want to show you our final designed windscreen. Nailed it on the first try. Absolutely. Like it was.
Ooh, that thing looks so good.
Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. I am sorry that we're gonna be cutting the episode kind of short here. You don't realize how much goes into making bodywork and like doing Bondo look cool on camera. I have a crap ton of hours just editing this video just to make it look cool for you guys. So I hope you liked it. Don't roast me too much in the comments. Also, you guys will see some friendly new faces on the channel, and I'm happy to announce that we now have expanded the team. We've added 3 new people here to help us full-time on not just this project, but other cool builds we're doing. We want to film more for you guys, and now I can happily say we have the manpower and firepower to do that. So the videos are just going to get cooler, and they're going to be coming out more regularly. I promise. This is what we've been waiting for. We've been working on this thing for months, and I know we've got hundreds of hours to go, and we will be working on this thing around the clock until it's done. Also, if you're not up to date, we did extend the pre-orders until the end of the year. So if you're still interested in buying your very own MotoGP kit for your 1290 or 1390 Super Duke, you can hop on over to jbellz.com. We also have some merch. It's a great way to support the channel. That's kind of how we make our money, and every dollar spent there, we put back into the channel to do cooler stuff for you guys. Also, the first of the year, we have a really cool giveaway that we're going to be announcing. So it's a perfect time to jump on over there and see what we got. On behalf of all the team here, we want to wish you and your family a happy holidays this season, and we'll see you on the next one.